What is up, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks with your hosts Dylan and Davin. And today we're going to talk about a player that kind of has an interesting role on this new Knicks team, and that is Josh Hart. Last season he had that bigger role. He was more involved in the scoring game and stuff like that. So far in the preseason, though, he has been very not used in scoring. I think he scored 0 points in the first game of the preseason, and he barely saw any touches in the second game as well. He's got a completely different role now. He's acknowledged that new role, of course, but it's a completely different look for him than it was in previous seasons. So we're gonna just talk about that stuff. So Davin, first off, tell me how you're doing, and secondly, what kind of role do you expect Josh Hart to be playing this season?
Doing great, man. Hope you're doing the same. And to be quite honest, I expect more of a Draymond-esque role from Josh Hart. Like you said, he's actually scored 0 points in both preseason games. Most recently, he put up 6 rebounds, 5 assists in the other night. But before that, 14 minutes, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Josh Hart is actually averaging no points right now in the preseason. So it's like that's kind of what he's accepting, and that's kind of what we're not expecting Josh Hart to get us 10 to 15 points a game. We need all the little things. We need the defense. We need good passing, great aggressiveness and tenacity from Josh Hart. Is kind of all we're expecting from him. Personally, myself, that's what I think would be perfect for him because when you look at this Knicks rotation right now, and I was actually looking at it, yeah, ESPN has a depth chart, but at the same time, they don't have names like Pacom Dadia. They don't have Hook Party. The young guys we have, our rookies and everything, they don't really have these guys listed. At the same time, we're going to need these guys, man. And Josh Hart's going to be very fundamental in what this bench is going to provide beyond what he's going to be starting with the way they stagger minutes on the bench, he's going to be very crucial in that. Him and Mikal Bridges, in my opinion, because we just don't have the depth that we used to have. If you look at our roster this time last year, insane depth, to be honest with you. Even though guys are playing roles they may not have wanted to or anticipated playing at the same time, we were a stacked team all the way down 10 men down. Now we just know we found out yesterday that Mitchell Robinson's out until 2025. We need someone to play the backup four. Have no idea who that's going to be, to be quite honest with you. And it's like that's kind of what Josh Hart is going to be, the Iron Man, the glue for the whole entire team, because we're going to need him in the starting lineup and on the bench. So it's going to be very interesting. But I think more of a Draymond role, not necessarily scoring, but as far as his efficient rebounding, he's still a rebounder, like he's a center essentially out there. He gets 10 rebounds a game if he wanted to. So that's kind of the way I see it for him.
Right, and it's interesting because last year, especially in the playoffs, he took over as kind of like their second option almost. I mean, he wasn't like, of course, the leading scorer, but they were relying on this guy to score a lot more, and he was getting the job done. Of course, this is not a guy who's going to put up 25 a night. He was never that kind of player, but you expect him to score a little bit in a certain capacity when he was out there last year, and now this year with all these other mouths to feed, you have Mikal Bridges out there, you brought OG Anunoby back, you have Karl Anthony Towns. All three of those guys are capable of putting up 20 a game on top of playing with Jalen Brunson, who is capable of putting up 30 a game. That's nearly 100 points right there that is being taken up by those four guys. And of course, you can't, you got to find a way to split that up evenly between everybody in the rotation. But when you look at Josh Hart, seeing what he's done these first two preseason games, I'm fully expecting him to be one of the very last options to score. Honestly, because this is someone, like I mentioned before, he's not an aggressive shot taker. This isn't somebody who gets the ball and his first instinct is to shoot. His first instinct is to pass it, look for another guy open, which is what his role should be if he's going to be starting on this team. If he's going to start with this group of guys, I think that's what it should be. He should be, looking for the other guys to do stuff and not necessarily try to take over the game himself on the scoring end, right? And I know there's been a whole big debate about whether or not he or Miles McBride should start in the two-guard spot because of that. Me personally, I think Josh Hart starting is perfectly fine because if you really look at the starting five, I think Josh Hart creates a perfect balance for that entire starting five because you have Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who are two All-Stars, two All-NBA level scorers. Then you have two All-Defense level players in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. And then you have Josh Hart, who kind of gives you a little bit of everything, right? He doesn't excel at one thing, maybe rebounding, but he doesn't really excel in like one specific area other than that. But he gets you a little bit of scoring, he gets you a little bit of playmaking, he gets you a decent level of defense, he's a good off-ball defender. So he gives you a little bit of everything, and I think he's like the perfect, fifth guy in the starting five, if you will, for this team. I really do, because I mean, yes, I see the benefit of putting him on the bench because you want to give the team more depth in that regard, and you want to have him be available off the bench and kind of give you that versatility. I understand that, but I think him starting makes the team a lot better. I really do, because I think you really have a completely balanced attack with that starting five, and those guys are going to play the bulk of the minutes anyway. Like, considering how weak the bench is now, the only guy that might see even close to over 20 minutes a game is like McBride and Achua. Those are two guys right there. Essentially, it's gonna be like a 9-man rotation. There's gonna be plenty of guys that play, but there's gonna be mainly two guys you'll see off the bench, way more than the rest of them, and it's McBride and Achua. You're gonna see the rest of the guys very infrequently, right? So with that being said, I mean, I really don't see why you would take Josh Hart out of the starting five, even if he's not gonna score. He even acknowledged that scoring is not his main role this year. It's not. He had said, his job is to rebound the ball, to pass the ball, to look for his teammates. That's what an elite role player is supposed to do. They know their role, they know their spot on the court, they know that they're not supposed to do everything to, just take over games. They know they're supposed to make an impact in the other areas of the floor. That's what Josh Hart does. And it's an interesting fit. I will say that because this is a guy that, the Knicks traded a first round pick for this guy a couple years ago, and they traded, also a guy that they were relying on to score in Cam Reddish at the time. So you're kind of getting rid of some scoring a little bit by having Josh Hart in starting five and having Josh Hart with this kind of unique role and this jack of all trades type role. I understand it's a weird role, weird fit probably, but at the same time, I really think that this is the guy you need in your starting five. Even if he's putting up 3 points a game or 5 points a game, whatever it may be, you need him in that starting lineup. You need him because he provides so much in so many different areas that he's going to be that impactful and that important. What do you think about that, though? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
No, Josh Hart has been really phenomenal, and I expect him to be stellar in the starting five. Like you said, to kind of stagger everything that's going on, and that's kind of what we're going to be anticipating for him. 3 points a game, 5 points a game, and that's what he's doing. As long as we're winning, and as well as he's professing or progressing, pardon me, and his rebounds and assist totals, we're going to be just fine, man. There's nothing really to worry about with Josh Hart. Now, my only concern, we've been talking about this bench depth. Josh Hart, like, that's where we say scoring is going to be needed. Josh Hart, if he's going to play an Iron Man role again, like he did last season, I don't understand, I don't understand how they're going to balance all these guys, man, because we don't have anything after like 8 men. It gets very, very interesting. And that's kind of what Josh Hart's going to carry the load, in my opinion. They say he's not going to score a lot. Sure, he's not going to score a lot, but the guy's going to be playing 39, 40 minutes a night some nights. Like, it's going to be back-to-back nights of him on stretches of playing 40 minutes a game. Now, he said he's up for that. We talked about that last season. By the same time, Josh Hart's nearing 30 years old. Things like that tend to, you know what I mean, take a little wear and tear. And that's the thing about this season that's going to be very, very interesting to watch for me. I believe the wear and tear aspect of everything is going to be kind of how we judge this, guys. Because if you guys are going to start playing 30, 45 minutes a game and things like that, I think that they're going to start throwing the blame at Tibbs, but it's not necessarily the case. The case is more the fact that we need more depth. And no one's going to talk about, we're going to make a trade to get something else. Like, no, I don't think that's necessary. That'll go back to a former episode we talked about where guys like Tyler Kolek will step up. Guys will come in. Dottie Ed, when he gets healthy, he'll come back in. And we'll have guys, more pieces. We'll be relying on younger guys. And that's something that Tom Thibodeau's going to have to get accustomed to, I believe, because that's really not Tom Thibodeau's style. But when we look at our roster here, Josh Hart's going to be playing an insane load this season. Regardless if he's starting and scoring 20 points or not, the guy's going to be out there hustling every single game. So that's kind of how I see that going out for Josh Hart. And I don't see any other way. Man. Do you see another option? You believe that they can probably look around that of him playing, 40 minutes a game?
I really don't. I mean, like you said, he's going to have to play a lot of minutes because his role is kind of expected to be used everywhere. I was just saying, like, you need this guy in the starting five, but you need him on the bench too, as you were talking about. So you need him in pretty much everywhere. There's no spot that you kind of look at and you say, oh, we don't need Josh Hart here in this situation. No, you kind of need him almost every time. But you can't play the guy 48 minutes a night all 82 games of the season. That's just impossible to do. The guy's legs are going to fall off, right? So you can't do that. So they got to find a way to, give themselves some depth in that area, right? And, I think, I think what I was saying before is, Josh Hart is way more important than some people I think. I think a lot of people's perception about Hart changed during the playoffs last year because I think before that a lot of people were, unsure about how they felt about Hart's fit on the team and stuff. But then the playoffs rolled around and they realized that this guy is a winning player. This guy is a guy who, will make an impact in so many different ways that many teams wish that they had 10 Josh Harts. I'm sure the Knicks wish they had 10 Josh Harts because this is a guy who, exemplifies with hustle. He plays hard, he plays to win. He gets those rebounds. He makes good plays with the ball. He always has that one like really weird pass every game because that's just Josh Hart. That's who he is, and that's what makes, all that stuff though, the way he tries out there on the court, lays it all out. So it makes him a good player. It really does. And, like I said, even if he puts up like 5 points a game, 6 points a game, no matter what, he's going to make an impact one way or the other. A massive impact on the starting five. I'm not expecting him to go out there and put up a lot of points. I'm expecting him to, do his job and be that kind of pest, that annoying player that guys on opposing teams do not want to face. But I'm not expecting him to take over games on the scoring load. I'm expecting him to make an impact everywhere else, and I think he's going to. Yes, his scoring is probably going to take a massive dip. I'm expecting that to really, happen. I'm not expecting him to score a lot of points this year, to be honest with you. If he scores 20 points more than like 6 to 7 times, or even maybe 8 to 10 times this season, I'll be a little like surprised that he'll be
Yeah,
that involved in the scoring. Of course, if guys get injured, that's a whole different story. But
yeah.
when you look at the team right now as it's constructed, he's not going to score a lot. He's really not. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. I know some fans want a scorer in the starting five, like that's why they want Miles McBride in the starting five, and I get it. I get it. You want to, enhance the scoring as much as you want and give yourself some depth in a situation where you don't really have as much depth in the second unit, but I still wholeheartedly disagree that McBride should start over Hart. I think Hart needs to stay in that starting five. I think he's that important of a player and everything else that it gives your starting five the complete and ultra balance that you want. Most teams strive to have a starting five
Yeah.
with a great combination of hustle, of shooting, of defense, of playmaking, all that stuff. The Knicks have it right there if you keep Josh Hart in that starting five. Even if he's not scoring, he's going to make plays with the passes. He's going to get rebounds, all that stuff. He's going to play good defense too. And if you got that right there, a guy who's, hustling like crazy all over the floor, giving it all, like as if it's game 7 every single game, and you have the guys on the floor with you like Brunson, Towns, Bridges, who are all capable of taking over games and just lighting up their opponent. It's a scary starting five, and it's going to be so tough to stop. And yes, I know it's the preseason right now, and we've only got 2 games of a sample size of that. But so far in these 2 preseason games, that starting five has looked brilliant. And I know that, again, preseason, and they're both against bad teams. It's not the best conclusion to make at the moment. But still, they have looked great together as a starting five on the floor. And they're still trying to, and this is in a period where they're still trying to build chemistry with one another. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has been a Knick for less than 2 weeks, so they're still trying to make chemistry with each other right now, and I think they've looked great. So I'm really excited for what Hart can bring to the table this season. I think it's going to be a much different look of a role than he's had the past season and a half since he came over to the Knicks, but it's going to be one that I think a lot of Knicks fans will like. I think it's a role that he's going to enjoy. I think it'll be also more importantly a role that will bring winning to this team, which is what's most important at the end of the day. What do you think about that, though? I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yes, I'm very strong that he'll be, like I said, a Draymond-esque role. And but really, like you said, defensively, the New York Knicks were phenomenal. That last game against the Hornets, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The Wizards part of me, like that was actually insane what I saw from the whole entire team as a whole defensively. The intensity, the tenacity. Karl Anthony Towns shot him out. He started like 0 for 6 from the floor. But he set the tone. He set the tone early. Had some great blocks, getting back in great hustle. Josh Hart, same playmaking, making the right passes. There's a pass he made so insane to the weak side that I was like, no, this guy's this is what he's going to plan on doing. Hey man, you don't have to score at all. You don't have to score at all. He was running into the lane, shoots it back out on the spin. I was like, this is Josh Hart. All right, man. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. So that was Josh Hart is planning on doing, being the ultimate playmaker. His playing his Draymond role to the fullest, and I think that's what he's embracing behind the scenes. He may not be saying it, but he's not trying to score. I remember they were on a run. They were like on a 24-5 run against the Wizards, and everyone's taking shot. The ball is hot. The ball is hot. So Josh Hart took his shot. I think he just took one just to take it. He was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get in on this frenzy right now, and it was short, but at the same time, it was like that's okay, man. It's okay. We're not anticipating you making these shots or taking. As long as you're taking, you're still aggressive enough. You're going to take the defense off balance all the time. Because if you're the one that all of a sudden starts hitting shots and we're not even game planning for you to do that, man, this you've broken the code at that point. The New York Knicks are unstoppable. If Josh Hart, like you said, he has 20 points. That means that this team has scored at least 120 in that game. There's no way that you've gotten Josh Hart off for 20 points while these other guys are going to get their 28. They're going to get their 25. And Mikal Bridges is getting his 17, 18. Like this is going. Those are automatic. But if this guy's getting off, hey man, just go ahead and wave the white flag because it's over. Okay, so that's kind of the way I see it with Josh Hart. If he has a night like that, that's going to be a prolific night for him all the time. You said about, I would say like 8 to 10 games, 20 points. He does something like that. That's going to put the Knicks on another level. I think championship contender, of course, if Josh Hart is that prolific. But at the same time, we got to get some minutes, less minutes for this guy. I don't want him playing 40 minutes. I don't want him playing, 38 minutes, 5 games straight, and then he's going to the interview talking about, oh, I'm okay with that. Okay, let's be honest, man. We have playoffs, and we saw what happened last year. So let's go ahead and mitigate that as much as we can, kind of get away from that. And that's kind of my opinion on that whole entire thing. Because I don't want us to fall into that trap where we fell into. Mitchell Robinson's hurt now. So now we have guys that are going to be overextending in their roles anyways. So all these guys are going to be playing more minutes by default now because one of the defensive anchors is all of a sudden not playing. That's like, all right, so we've tried to kind of get away from that Mitchell Robinson situation, but unfortunately he's going to be on the shelf until 2025. So we have that much time, maybe not even just like January 2025. So who knows when until we got guys overplaying their position, and it's kind of something I really didn't want to happen because we can fall into a trap where injuries happen, man. This is the NBA, so it's like that's kind of the way I see everything, though. But I think Josh Hart, man, I'm really looking forward to what he provides this year.
Right, and I think the best thing you've described with it all is the Draymond type role. He's gonna have a role where he's not scoring a lot, but he's making an impact everywhere else. Draymond Green for the Golden State Warriors was never a guy, maybe briefly in his career, but was never a guy that you looked at and went, yeah, that guy needs to score a lot. No, because he's an impact player everywhere else. And Josh Hart is in a similar way. Obviously, I think there's differences between the two players, but I think you guys get the gist of what we're saying with this, and that Hart's gonna play that kind of role where, yeah, he's not gonna get that many shots up a night. He's gonna probably get like less than 7 to 10 shots per game, but that's fine. He's gonna make an impact everywhere else, and the other guys that are in that starting five and a couple of guys off the bench are gonna make the impacts in the scoring, right? And I think with that kind of strategy, the Knicks are in a great place. So I think this is a good place to wrap it up, though. Like I said, it's a very interesting role for Josh Hart this year, and I think he's going to be one of the guys to watch for the most this season. I think he's going to be a guy that everyone's going to want to keep their eyes on and see how he's making an impact with this new look team. It's a brand new team, brand new starting five, brand new pieces, so everything's new. So we got to see how it meshes together. But guys, we really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know what you think about Josh Hart in the comment section below. Let us know what kind of role you expect him to play and what you would consider a successful season from Josh Hart. We would love to hear about it. You can follow our personal Twitter accounts. They're above our heads. You can also follow us on Fireside Knicks on all of our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, of course this YouTube page that you are watching the video on. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.